The summer can be a great time to upgrade your smart home, but whether it's Prime Day or some other summer sale, it can be hard to filter through all the noise and find products that are worth your attention and maybe your money. In this video, I want to list some products I love related to deals I think are worth it. And if you're watching this video right when it launches around Prime Day in July, there will be links to all the relevant deals in the description below. If you're new here, I'm Eric Welander. Welcome to my channel. I've been an app developer on Apple platforms since 2011 and building out my smart home here on YouTube since 2018. So if you're into Apple or smart home tech, consider subscribing. And thanks to Aqara for sponsoring this video. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that Aqara makes some of my favorite products to power my smart home. And Aqara has some great deals for Prime Day. I recently installed the U100 lock on my front door. It replaces an existing deadbolt and comes in black and my new favorite, gray. I mean, can you tell I like gray? The fingerprint sensor is one of the features that sets the U100 apart from its little sibling, the U50, which is a great alternative for a little less money. Both locks support Apple's home key, so I just tap my iPhone or my Apple Watch to get inside. And if you need an analog backup on either one, you can slide down the front panel to reveal the secret metal keyhole. Aqara recently launched their U200 lock, which is the first to support Matter over Thread and Apple's home key in the same lock. The U200 goes on top of your existing deadbolt, so you can add smart features to your existing keys and lock, and all of Aqara's blocks have lower prices for Prime Day you can check out in the description below. And while you're there, why not think about a G4 doorbell that supports Apple's HomeKit Secure Video to go with a new lock. It's also a great time to stock up on other Aqara accessories like a 3-pack of their leak sensors to detect plumbing leaks before they become a disaster. But if you pick up a leak sensor or other Aqara sensors that run on Zigbee or a U50 lock, be sure you also have an Aqara hub. Otherwise, they have discounts on their M1S, M2, and M3 hubs. Thanks again to Aqara for supporting my channel by sponsoring this video. Now, moving on to ECOVACS, their T30S Combo and their X2 Omni are both priced down to around $900 for Prime Day. And watching out for sales on robot vacuums over the summer can be really useful. Now, Apple just announced officially at WWDC that they're going to be supporting Matter robot vacuums in the Home app coming later this year. So if you get a Matter compatible robot vacuum like the X2 Omni, which is on sale, you'll presumably be able to use it with Apple Home later this year. I recently reviewed the T30S Combo, and it's still the vacuum that I use currently on my first floor. And I really like this combo concept where you have this handheld charged vacuum ready to go with different attachments right there by your robot vacuum. So if you're spending $900, you get the robot vacuum plus this combo handheld vacuum. Now, keep in mind the T30S is not one that ECOVACS says will support Matter. That's only the X2 Omni, but I think both great vacuums. And if you haven't looked at robot vacuums, even in just a few years, the technology for obstacle avoidance and cleaning and mopping and vacuuming, it all just makes leaps and bounds forward every single year. So it's worth reconsidering if you have the room in your budget. Now, another key part of a smart home that I've talked a lot about on this channel is your Wi-Fi network. So moving on to Eero, which of course is all about Prime Day because they are an Amazon company now, but their Pro 6E or even maybe their Pro 7 mesh lines are my go-to sort of set it and forget it network option for a lot of people. It's what I've set up for my in-laws as well as my own parents. And I think the Eero is a great system overall. Now, I haven't used the 6E or 7 specifically, at least just yet, but I've had great experience with the Pro 6, and I've heard great things about the 6E and 7. Now, the wireless networking that I use in my home myself is Ubiquiti. Now, they rarely go on sale, but keep an eye out for sales over the summer. Maybe you'll be able to score some deals there. Either way, I find Ubiquiti to be potentially a better value than, let's say, a mesh networking system where you pay a bunch for all-in-one hardware you'll have to replace all at once when you want to upgrade your network. With Ubiquiti, it's much more modular, so you get the main system and different access points, which you can change over time as Wi-Fi tech advances and you have different needs. Now, if you are looking for a traditional mesh system and you don't want to go with Eero, I'd also keep an eye on Netgear for their deals, especially for some of their Wi-Fi 6E line of products. Now, moving on to another company I talk a lot about on this channel, Eve. They have some sales on a bunch of their products, including the ones that I'm mentioning here today for Prime Day. The Eve Room is what you might think of as just a really expensive temperature sensor, but Eve put quality sensors in this. It's like buying a nice piece of clothing or something that's just well made, and it's going to detect the temperature and humidity and air quality in your room much more accurately than a lot of the inexpensive sensors that are thrown into other products as sort of a bonus feature. So one downside is that you still have to charge it with micro USB, but you can run continuous power to it with micro USB. And there's an interesting fact there that in order to keep the temperature sensing accurate, they'll actually only charge the temperature sensor different times periodically during the day so that that extra temperature from charging the battery doesn't mess up your measurements. Now, I mentioned HomeKit Secure Video with Aqara earlier. Eve has their outdoor cam, which basically replaces an outdoor light fixture or another place where you can run power to an outdoor camera, basically the same kind of power you'd run to a light fixture. And it works with HomeKit Secure Video and also has a built-in spotlight there. So provided you can do the wiring, even if you're a little newer to wiring things in your home, it's pretty straightforward to connect, just like a light fixture basically. And I was really impressed with the video quality when I reviewed this on the channel. I think it was now 2 years ago, but it's still a solid HomeKit Secure Video option and one of the limited ones for outdoor cameras. And the other benefit is once you get that continuous power hooked up, of course, you don't have to worry about charging batteries on the Eve Outdoor Cam. Another product I reviewed last year is Eve's Play adapter, which takes any kind of nice, especially high-end stereo speakers and makes them available with AirPlay. So you can stream music to them from all your Apple devices and include them in multi-room audio with other AirPlay speakers, maybe your Apple TV or HomePods. And the thing that sets the Eve Play apart, kind of like the Eve Room, is that Eves use high quality components inside. They have a Texas Instruments DAC, which I was very impressed with how that performed in my review. And it has an array of different connections on the back of it to hook up to different kinds of speakers and receivers. So if you have some high-end audio equipment that you're kind of missing the fact that it doesn't work in the modern digital age, the Eve has some nice sales for Prime Day on the Eve Play, and I think either way, it's something you should consider. Now, moving on to smart plugs from TP-Link. TP-Link makes some of my favorite Wi-Fi smart plugs that are also very affordable, and their Topo P125M is the latest in that series that also works with Matter. So it not only works with Apple Home, but any number of other smart home ecosystems as well. And that is down for Prime Day to $21 US, which is less than $10 per smart plug for a 3-pack. So amazing deal there. And either way, keep an eye out for sales of the P125M over the summer. I think it's a pretty solid smart plug, especially on that budget end. Now, you'll need to have a robust Wi-Fi network and good Wi-Fi signal to support Wi-Fi smart plugs, as we talked about earlier with the different Wi-Fi systems. But provided you have that in place, using a bunch of these Wi-Fi smart plugs can be really convenient and not break the bank. Now, moving back to a company that's a little bit more on the high end and expensive, Lutron. They make some really nice dimmers and switches to turn your existing lights in your home smart. Now, this is something you'll want to swap out if you own your home It's not something like a smart plug that you could put when you rent. But one of the things to keep an eye out for with sales with Lutron are their starter kits, because if you're getting into it, you can get a nice discount on the smart hub, which connects all their switches to your smart home, as well as a switch, and they'll mix and match different ways to mount those Pico remotes, whether it's with a wall plate or a pedestal. And the key thing to watch out for with the starter kits, in my opinion, is the Diva Smart Dimmer or the Claro switch. These are Lutron's newer versions of their light switches, and unless you're trying to match light switches to existing original line switches, the new Diva Dimmer and Claro switch are a huge upgrade from the original line, and I would highly recommend going with those instead. It's usually, let's say, around $10 more than the equivalent product with their original line. Now, Sonos is a company I use a lot for multi-room audio as well as home theater audio, and I installed earlier this year their Beam Gen 2. I upgraded from the Beam Gen 1 to the Gen 2, and I was very impressed at the difference. Outside of the speaker, it looks basically the same. It's just a hard shell outside instead of more of a soft shell, but it sounds way better and then supports Dolby Atmos. Now, of course, Sonos has the bigger Arc soundbar as well as the smaller Ray soundbar, so a range of different soundbars at different prices. I've also really liked the Move 2 from them. It's a nice speaker that, just like the Beam and a lot of other Sonos speakers, supports AirPlay 2. So you can use the Move 2 with Sonos' system, or you can use it with Apple AirPlay and all your Apple devices that way instead. Of course, all the Sonos speakers work with Apple Music via the Sonos app. And speaking of something that has a special integration with Apple Music via the Sonos app, the Era 300 is a Dolby Atmos speaker, even just on its own with one Era 300. So that will give you surround audio for music. And Sonos sent me one of those last year, and I was very impressed. I still use it in my dining room. You can actually even make those a pair of rear surrounds for a home theater system, which would be amazing. I haven't tried that myself, but just keep an eye out for different discounts on Sonos speakers over the summer, including Prime Day. And one other tip to get discounts for Sonos speakers is if you already have Sonos speakers and they're set up, of course, in your account, if you log into Sonos's website, they have options to then use those speakers as sort of a trade-in, as they call it, to get a discount off of a future speaker purchase. And this starts at 15% off, but can go to much higher percentages off for older speakers. And you can use it once per speaker, but you don't have to send in the old speaker to Sonos. You could keep using the speaker or sell it or give it to a friend. Now, if you do want, you can send the speaker into Sonos and they will responsibly recycle it. But I think it's a really cool program where you can save a little bit of money on new Sonos speakers if you already have existing ones. And for that, you don't need to wait for any kind of other sale. Now, one thing I've been surprised about with Prime Day and sort of pre-Prime Day deals and things to keep an eye on are AirPods. Apple's been making some discounts on AirPods, and they can be a great way to talk to Siri to control your Apple Home, because I find my iPhone and iPad, those devices tend to be very fast at controlling my Apple Home. And so I wear AirPods Pro like implants. They're always in my ears, basically, so much of the day. And I've upgraded last year to the USB-C version, and that can drop now in price. I've seen it as low as $170 US, or maybe around $200 more frequently on sale. But it's something to watch out for, because maybe you have the AirPods Pro version 1 or version 2 with the Lightning connector. The USB-C AirPods Pro 2 are actually even a small upgrade from the Lightning version. So it's something to consider, especially if you use AirPods Pro a lot like I do. Maybe ones you've had for a couple years now have worn out with their battery, or their speakers can start to rattle or just not sound as good. So Apple's even announced that they're going to add some more features to AirPods Pro 2 because those have the H2 chip in them. They'll be able to do some more voice isolation with the software updates coming this fall. So really great headphones there to keep an eye out for. And On the other end of the spectrum, the sort of older side of AirPods, AirPods Max, those are very expensive high-end headphones, and they still only have Apple's H1 chip in either ear, but they support Dolby Atmos and spatial audio and head tracking and a lot of the relatively advanced Apple features with AirPods. And I've seen them go as low as $400 US, which for $400, it's still an amazing pair of headphones. Now, yes, it still has a lightning connector, and it's going to be 3 years old this December. So who knows when Apple will update the AirPods Max with a new version. But if you're able to score a deal on the existing one and you sort of know what's potentially coming, you're still going to have a really good pair of headphones, even if it's made a little bit obsolete in a few months. My watch just said I was working out. I guess I'm gesturing too much today. Now, I talked a lot about locks with Aqara earlier, and one big question you might still have is it a good deal to get a home key lock in 2024, given what Apple just pre-announced? And I have a video linked on the screen all about that. Thanks again so much for watching, and I hope to see you in your next video.